You wake up in the morning, head to the kitchen thinking you're doing everything right. You make that oatmeal with fruit everyone says is healthy, that green juice you saw online, that whole wheat toast with low-fat cheese because, hey, it's whole wheat, right? And you go through the whole day trying to eat clean, avoiding fried foods, trimming the fat from your meat, picking up light products at the grocery store. But when you go back to the doctor and get your tests done again, reality hits you like a ton of bricks. That fatty liver disease is still there, or worse, it's gotten worse. Your liver enzymes have spiked even higher. The ultrasound shows the condition has progressed from grade 1 to grade 2. And you feel that deep frustration, that urge to give up because you tried, you put in the effort, you gave up so many things you love to eat, and still, nothing has changed. And then comes that nagging question that haunts you at night, making you question everything. What am I doing wrong? Why isn't it working for me? Am I destined to live with this disease forever, watching it slowly progress until it becomes irreversible? Today, I'm going to show you something that will completely change how you view your diet for fatty liver disease, because the problem isn't that you're eating wrong out of malice or lack of effort. The problem is that you're following advice that's completely outdated. Recommendations that were considered correct 20 years ago, but which science has now proven to be ineffective or even harmful for those with fatty liver. And what's saddest of all is that most healthcare professionals are still repeating the same advice because they don't have the time to keep up with the latest research, they don't specialize in fatty liver, and they end up passing on what they learned in medical school decades ago. I'm going to tell you about a specific meal, a combination of foods that directly targets your liver cells, reduces inflammation, improves insulin sensitivity, and literally starts to reverse fat accumulation in the organ, something you can start doing tomorrow, right in your own home without breaking the bank or needing advanced culinary skills. A few months ago, I saw a patient who came into my office completely desperate. She was 42, a teacher, a mother of 2, and had just discovered she had grade 2 fatty liver disease. What struck me about her case wasn't just the diagnosis, which is unfortunately becoming increasingly common, but the fact that she had a folder full of notes, recipes she'd printed from the internet, calorie charts, diet apps on her phone, everything very organized, very well-intentioned. She told me that for the past 6 months, she had rigorously followed a diet a nutritionist had given her, based on eating every 3 hours, always prioritizing whole grains, avoiding fats, consuming lots of fruit throughout the day, drinking natural juices, and eating granola bars for snacks. And she followed it to the letter, not missing a single day, because she was truly scared. She had watched her mother die of cirrhosis a few years earlier and didn't want to go through the same thing. But when she got her tests done again, after these 6 months of absolute dedication, her liver enzymes had climbed even higher. Her AST, which was 85, was now 120. The ultrasound showed increased liver echogenicity, and she simply couldn't understand what was happening. I'm a doctor specializing in liver diseases, and for over 15 years, I've worked exclusively with patients who have fatty liver disease, steatohepatitis, and fibrosis. My mission is to translate the latest science into practical protocols that actually work in people's real lives. Every day in my practice, I see stories like that of this teacher, people who are doing exactly what conventional medicine tells them to do, but aren't seeing any results. And the reason for this is very simple. Traditional advice for fatty liver is focused on the wrong paradigm. For decades, we believed the problem was fat in food. So we told people to cut out oils, fatty meats, cheeses, eggs, and butter. But research from the last 10 years has unequivocally shown that the real culprit for fatty liver disease isn't dietary fat, but rather an excess of refined carbohydrates and, especially fructose. When you eat a bagel, a plate of pasta, a glass of orange juice, or that seemingly healthy granola bar, here's what happens in your body. These carbohydrates are quickly converted into glucose. Your blood sugar spikes abruptly. Your pancreas releases a huge amount of insulin to deal with that glucose. And when this happens multiple times a day, every day, you develop something called insulin resistance. And it's precisely insulin resistance that causes the liver to start accumulating fat uncontrollably. If you're watching this video this far, it's because you genuinely want to solve this problem. And I know you probably watched dozens of videos, read hundreds of articles, and tried several different diets. But I need you to trust me now, because what I'm about to share with you isn't just another internet fad. It's not another protocol without scientific backing. It's the result of years of studying the latest research on liver metabolism, combined with the clinical experience of having followed the progress of thousands of patients. If you want to access this kind of information regularly, information that goes beyond what you hear in a typical doctor's office, that's based on the most up-to-date evidence and explained in a way that anyone can understand and apply, then subscribe to this channel now and hit the notification bell. Every week, I bring you new content on how to reverse fatty liver, how to interpret your lab results, the most common mistakes people make, and which supplements actually work versus which are a complete waste of money. This channel was created specifically for people like you who don't just want to live with the disease, but want to actually cure it. And I'm here to be your guide on this journey, to show you the path based on science and real-world clinical experience. You deserve access to quality information. You deserve to understand what's happening in your body, and you definitely deserve to regain your liver health. So click that subscribe button, turn on the bell, because together we're going to reverse this. Now I need to ask you a very important question, and I want you to be completely honest with me, because your answer could change the lives of thousands of people watching this video right now. When you were diagnosed with fatty liver disease, what was the first piece of advice your doctor gave you? Let me guess. It was to lose weight, eat less fat, exercise, come back in 6 months for more tests, right? And you walked out of the doctor's office without a clear understanding of what you needed to do, without a specific plan, just with those generic recommendations that everyone already knows, but that nobody can really follow because they're too vague, too impractical. I know exactly how you felt at that moment, because I talk every day with people who have gone through the same situation. And the feeling is always the same: frustration, abandonment, being alone in a fight you don't know how to win. So I want you to do something now. I want you to comment down below, using these words if you like. I have fatty liver and want to learn the right way to eat. Don't be ashamed. Don't feel embarrassed about being in this situation, because you are not alone. Millions of Americans have fatty liver disease right now, and most of them are just as lost as you were before finding this video. When you comment, you're not just helping me understand my audience better, you're creating a support network. You're showing other people that they don't have to face this alone. You're being a light for someone who might be watching this video with a heavy heart, thinking there's no hope. So comment now, because I read every comment. I reply personally whenever possible. And your story matters to me. Your struggle, your pain, your quest for a healthier life. All of it matters. Returning to the story of that teacher I mentioned earlier, when I looked at all the documentation she had brought, at all those recipes and guidelines she had followed so diligently, I immediately understood the problem. She was eating carbs all day long, every 3 hours, exactly as many nutritionists still advise. Breakfast with oatmeal, fruit, and juice. Mid-morning snack with a banana and a granola bar. Lunch with brown rice, beans, salad, and lean meat. Afternoon snack with non-fat yogurt and granola. Dinner with a vegetable soup and whole wheat toast. A late-night snack with another piece of fruit. Sounds healthy, doesn't it? But let's analyze what was really happening in her liver. Every time she ate, especially these carbohydrates, even the whole grains, her blood sugar would spike, insulin would be released, and her body would go into energy storage mode. The problem was that she never gave her body a chance to use that stored energy. She never allowed her insulin levels to truly drop. So her liver was constantly receiving the signal to store fat and never had the opportunity to burn that accumulated fat. Furthermore, the fruits and juices she consumed multiple times a day were bombarding her liver with fructose. Fructose is metabolized almost exclusively in the liver, where a good portion of it is converted directly into fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis. I explained to her that we needed to completely change the strategy, and the first thing we did was restructure her meals. Instead of eating every 3 hours, keeping insulin constantly elevated, she would now have 3 main meals a day with no snacks. This would allow for a fasting period between meals, during which insulin could drop and her body could start accessing fat reserves. And the composition of these meals would be radically different from what she was used to. Instead of prioritizing whole grains, she would now prioritize quality protein and natural fats, drastically reducing carbohydrates, especially refined ones and fruits. I know this might sound counterintuitive. After all, you've probably grown up hearing that fat is bad and carbs are the foundation of your diet. But science has evolved a lot, and today we know that for people with insulin resistance and fatty liver, this traditional food pyramid is completely inverted. The specific meal I prescribed for her as a reference, one she could use as a model and adapt to her routine and preferences, was composed as follows. A generous portion of protein, which could be whole eggs, not just the whites, a piece of salmon, a chicken thigh with skin, a not too lean piece of red meat, or even sardines. Alongside the protein, an abundant amount of non-starchy vegetables, such as broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, zucchini, eggplant, kale, arugula, lettuce, tomatoes, bell peppers, mushrooms, basically all those vegetables that grow above ground and are rich in fiber, vitamins, minerals, and anti-inflammatory compounds. And to complete the meal, a source of quality natural fat, which could be extra virgin olive oil, drizzled over the vegetables, sliced avocado, a handful of almonds or walnuts, or even the natural fat that comes with the chosen protein, like chicken skin or salmon fat. And here's the crucial point. Carbohydrates in this meal would be minimal, perhaps a small portion of sweet potato or pumpkin if the person felt the need, but definitely no rice, no bread, no pasta, no fruits, no juices. I know what you must be thinking now. But doctor, what about energy? Won't I feel weak without carbs? And the answer is no, you won't feel weak. Because when you reduce carbohydrates enough and maintain a good intake of healthy fats, your body learns to use fat as its primary energy source instead of constantly relying on glucose. This process is called metabolic flexibility, and it's exactly what people with fatty liver need to regain. When you are metabolically flexible, your body can easily switch between burning glucose and burning fat, depending on availability. And this means it can finally start accessing that stored fat in the liver and use it as fuel. But when you live in a constant cycle of eating carbs all day long, your body becomes dependent on glucose. And the fat accumulated in your liver simply sits there, never being mobilized, never being burned. 3 months after making these changes, that teacher returned to the office with a smile on her face that I'll never forget. She'd lost 15 pounds without starving herself, without obsessively counting calories, simply by eating real food until she was satisfied. But more importantly, her lab results showed an impressive transformation. Her ALT, which had been at 120, dropped to 48, practically within the normal range. Her AST, which was 92, fell to 36. Her fasting blood glucose, which had been 112, returned to 89. Her triglycerides, which had been 2 to 20, plummeted to 93. And the ultrasound showed a significant reduction in fatty liver, with the radiologist reporting that the liver appeared much closer to normal. She told me her energy had returned, that she no longer felt that constant fatigue, that her stomach had deflated, that her clothes were fitting loosely, and most importantly, that she was sleeping better and felt more energetic to play with her kids. All of this in just 3 months, simply by changing the composition of her meals. But you might be wondering, okay, doctor, I get that I need to eat more protein and fat and less carbohydrate, but practically speaking, how do I build that plate? Let me give you some very concrete examples so you can visualize it. For breakfast, instead of that oatmeal with fruit and juice, you could have scrambled eggs with cheese and avocado, seasoned with salt, pepper, and fresh herbs, accompanied by coffee with heavy cream or butter. Or you could have an omelet stuffed with spinach, tomato, and mushrooms, drizzled with olive oil. Or you could even have a piece of smoked salmon with cream cheese and cucumber. See how these options are nutritious, satisfying, and delicious? And most importantly, they won't cause that blood sugar and insulin spike that happens when you eat bread, cake, cereal, or fruit. For lunch, instead of that traditional plate with a mountain of rice and beans, a lean piece of meat, and a sad little salad, you could have a grilled steak with herb butter, accompanied by a generous salad with lettuce, arugula, tomato, cucumber, radishes, olives, all drizzled with plenty of extra virgin olive oil and balsamic vinegar. And if you feel the need for a carbohydrate, you can add a small portion of baked sweet potato or squash. Or you could have a whole roasted chicken with the skin on, served with sautéed broccoli and cauliflower cooked in lard or olive oil. Or a fish moqueca made with coconut milk, palm oil, bell peppers, tomatoes, and cilantro, served with just a salad, without the traditional rice or substituting it with a small portion of cauliflower rice. For dinner, you could have a creamy pumpkin soup with ginger and coconut, adding shredded chicken or shrimp for enough protein, finished with fresh parsley and a drizzle of olive oil. Or you could have zucchini noodles with homemade tomato sauce and meatballs seasoned with garlic, onion, parsley, and parmesan. Or you could even have a complete bowl salad with mixed greens, a hard-boiled egg, tuna, cherry tomatoes, cucumber, avocado, olives, and a dressing of Greek yogurt with lemon and herbs. The secret is to think of the plate as being composed primarily of protein and vegetables, with natural fats for flavor and satiety, and carbohydrates only as optional additions in small quantities. And as for drinks, that's another crucial point that many people get wrong. No juices, not even natural ones without added sugar, because they are fructose bombs, without the fiber that would be present in the whole fruit to slow down absorption. No sodas, not even zero sugar ones, because artificial sweeteners can negatively affect the gut microbiome and potentially worsen insulin resistance. The ideal is to drink water, sparkling water, unsweetened teas like green tea, black tea, hibiscus tea, ginger tea, unsweetened coffee, and occasionally a glass of water with squeezed lemon. If you truly miss something sweet, you can use natural sweeteners like stevia or erythritol in moderation. But the ideal is to retrain your palate to appreciate the natural flavors of food without relying so much on sweetness. Now, I know many people get worried about several things when they hear this advice, so let me anticipate the most common questions that come up in the office. First question, but doctor, won't eating fat increase my cholesterol? The answer is, it depends. For most people with fatty liver and insulin resistance, increasing consumption of natural fats and reducing carbohydrates actually improves their lipid profile, increasing HDL, which is the good cholesterol, reducing triglycerides, which are much more dangerous than cholesterol itself, and changing the pattern of LDL particles from small, dense, atherogenic ones to large, fluffy, benign ones. But of course, every case is different, and that's why medical follow-up and regular monitoring of lab results are important. Second question, what about fiber? Won't I get constipated without eating whole wheat bread and oatmeal? Actually, no, because the vegetables I'm recommending are extremely rich in fiber, much more so than bread and oatmeal. A plate full of broccoli, kale, spinach, zucchini, and salad provides an enormous amount of soluble and insoluble fiber, as well as phytonutrients, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory compounds that you simply don't find in cereals. And if you still feel the need for more fiber, you can add ground flaxseed, chia seeds, or psyllium to your routine. Third question, but won't I feel hungry eating like this? On the contrary, most people report feeling much less hungry when they eat this way because protein and fat are much more satiating than carbohydrates. When you eat carbohydrates, especially refined ones, your blood sugar spikes quickly and drops quickly, creating that roller coaster that leaves you hungry again in a few hours. But when you eat a meal rich in protein and fat with vegetables, digestion is slower. Satiety lasts much longer, and you can naturally feel comfortable without eating for 4, 5, 6 hours or even longer. Fourth question, and what about exercise? Do I need to get physical activity too, or will just the diet do the trick? Physical exercise is extremely important, yes, but not for the reasons most people think. It's not because you need to burn calories, as it's practically impossible to compensate for a bad diet with exercise. Exercise is important because it improves insulin sensitivity, helps preserve muscle mass during weight loss, boosts mood, reduces stress, improves sleep quality, and has direct anti-inflammatory effects. The ideal approach is to combine strength training, which can include weightlifting, bodyweight exercises, or even heavy household chores, with some form of moderate cardiovascular exercise like brisk walking, swimming, cycling, or dancing. You don't need to kill yourself at the gym every day. 30 minutes of daily walking makes a huge difference, and 2 or 3 strength training sessions per week are enough for most people. Fifth question, what if I have diabetes? Can I do this diet too? Not only can you, but you absolutely should, because a low-carbohydrate diet is likely the most effective intervention for improving glycemic control in type 2 diabetics. Many studies show that diabetic patients who follow a low-carb eating plan can reduce or even eliminate their diabetes medications, normalize their A1C, and prevent complications like neuropathy and retinopathy. But, of course, if you're on medications like insulin or oral hypoglycemics, it's crucial to do this under medical supervision because your dosages will need to be adjusted as your blood sugar improves. Otherwise, you run the risk of hypoglycemia. Let me tell you another case to illustrate the power of this approach. I had a patient, a 54-year-old truck driver, who, in addition to grade 3 fatty liver, had type 2 diabetes for 8 years. He was on 3 different medications to control his blood sugar, had high blood pressure, and was on 2 medications for it, and was about 55 pounds overweight. When he first came to my office, he was literally desperate because his previous doctor had told him he would likely need to start insulin soon. For a trucker who spends days on the road, having to take insulin injections multiple times a day would be practically unfeasible. I explained this whole approach to him, the same one I'm explaining to you now, showed him that he would need to radically change his diet, and we figured out together how he could do that even while traveling, eating at roadside diners, facing all the difficulties of his profession. He took it very seriously. He started building his plates with protein, salad, and a small side, completely stopped drinking soda, and only drank water and black coffee. He began intermittent fasting, skipping breakfast, and having his first meal at lunch. And whenever he stopped the truck to rest, he'd go for a quick 15-minute walk. 6 months later, the results were absolutely spectacular. He had lost 48 pounds. His fasting blood sugar, which was 193, dropped to 97. His A1C, which was 9, went down to 5, 8, which is practically in the normal range, and most impressively, he had managed to completely stop 2 of his 3 diabetes medications, staying on just 1 at a low dose. His blood pressure medications were also cut in half. And when he had his abdominal ultrasound redone, his steatosis had regressed from grade 3 to grade 1, an incredible improvement. He told me he hadn't felt this good in over 10 years, that his energy was back, that he could work better, and that even his relationship with his wife had improved because he was more willing and more confident. These cases aren't exceptions. They aren't miracles. They aren't coincidences. They are the direct result of applying correct physiological principles based on how the human metabolism actually works. When you understand that fatty liver is fundamentally caused by insulin resistance, and that insulin resistance is primarily caused by chronic excess of refined carbohydrates and constant hyperinsulinemia, then the solution becomes obvious. You need to reduce carbohydrates, especially refined ones and sources of fructose. Allow for periods of fasting between meals for insulin to drop. Prioritize foods that don't cause blood sugar spikes, provide quality nutrients for the liver to regenerate, and give the body time to do the healing work it's perfectly capable of when you remove the obstacles and provide the right tools. So, let's recap the main points you need to remember from this video. First, the traditional advice of eating every 3 hours, prioritizing whole grains, and avoiding fats is completely outdated and is actually detrimental for those with fatty liver. Second, the key to reversing hepatic steatosis lies in improving insulin sensitivity, and this is achieved through reducing carbohydrates, especially refined ones, and fructose, increasing protein and quality natural fats, and creating fasting periods between meals. Third, the ideal meal for someone with fatty liver should consist of a generous portion of protein, abundant non-starchy vegetables, natural fats for satiety, and only small amounts of carbohydrates from whole sources like sweet potato or squash. Fourth, completely eliminate juices, sodas, sweets, bread, pasta, cereals, and processed products full of sugar and refined flour. Fifth, combine this diet with regular exercise, especially strength training and walking. Get enough sleep, manage stress, and get regular medical checkups, monitoring your lab results. If you have fatty liver and haven't liked this video yet, please do so now. Because this like isn't just a number to me, it's an indicator that this information is reaching the right people and making a real-life difference. And if you know someone who is suffering from hepatic steatosis with elevated enzymes, fearing progression to cirrhosis, share this video with them right now, because you could literally be saving someone's life by giving them access to quality information. And leave your questions in the comments, share your results if you're already applying these guidelines, or simply comment with your TGO and TGP levels from your last exam, because this helps me better understand the profile of who's watching and gives me ideas for future videos. In my next video, I'm going to talk about the 5 most common mistakes that prevent fatty liver reversal, even when you think you're doing everything right. And one of these mistakes has to do with when you eat, something hardly anyone pays attention to, but that makes a huge difference in your results. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss this content. And I'll see you next week with more information that will truly transform your liver health.